Hey, what's up, friend? Hector here with 𝗙𝗏𝗃.com with this week's technique of the week. Today I'm going to be breaking down something that you probably didn't realize even existed. At least that's what some of the readers have said on the blog and our email list. So, did you know that there's actually two different rack positions when it comes to bringing the bells into the rack? And it all depends on the type of exercise that you're doing. Yes, that's correct. Today in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to switch from the strict press rack to the double jerk rack. Yes, there are two separate racks, okay? And knowing when to use one rack over the other is gonna make or break your strict press and your double jerk. This is the same, the rack for the double jerk will be the same rack that we even use for the push press, all right? So I'm gonna be diving into that and I'm gonna be showing you how to improve your double jerk by using the double jerk rack. All right, here we go. So, like I said, there's actually two different variations of the rack position, and you need to know when to jump into one or the other depending on the exercise that you're doing. So with that, the one little caveat here is for ladies, unfortunately, because you have breast tissue, I'm not gonna say that you can't do this. Just be very cautious with this because we don't want you smashing your breasts or anything like that, which could, who knows what kind of problems that could lead to. So just be cautious with that, okay? So now that that's out of the way, we're gonna talk about the strict press rack versus the double jerk rack, okay? So the strict press rack, your arm is kind of out towards the side of your torso, because when you do that, you can create this tension in between the underpit and you can really get your lats connected and part of the strict press, which is very important. That way we're not just pressing with our shoulder, because if you press with your shoulder long enough, eventually you can lead to some kind of injury down the road. So the press comes a lot from the lat. I think a lot of people know that by now. So I'm not really, there's no new revelation when it comes to that. So knowing that so this rack position, this actually is not the optimal position to be in to do the double jerk, okay? So I've been playing around with this for a little while. This is actually something that I cover in detail in my course, Kettlebell Berserk. So knowing how to go from the strict press rack to the double jerk rack, okay? So with the double jerk, we're not trying to generate as much tension as we can, because the double jerk it's an explosive movement. It's what we call a ballistic movement. So it's very quick, all right? So to be quick, you can't be having all this tension. You gotta know how to surf both sides of that coin, how to be tense at one time and how to be relaxed at the other time. And relaxation is speed and power even, okay? So the strict press rack, arm is slightly to the outside here, forearm is as vertical as you can get it, and then driving your arm in as if you're trying to like smash like a water bottle. That's gonna give you the tension that you need in the lat. It's a strict press. Now, for the double jerk, we actually want that to be slightly in front of the torso, right on these lower ribs right here, okay? So you're gonna go from this position to this position right here, okay? Now, when we do this, we're not actually like coming so far towards the center line, towards your midsection. You're not coming so far to where this like rounds your shoulders. We're not trying to do that, okay? We're just gonna shift the rack from the side and we're just gonna put it right here on this lower rib. Here's why that's important. For one, your arm and the kettlebell becomes one part of your body, okay? And we're gonna use the torso, we're gonna use that as a launching pad. So you're not gonna just drive here and then drop under for the jerk. As soon as when this arm is here, as soon as you dip and you drive, there's gonna be a slight extension. There's gonna be this slight extension of your thoracic region. This is not peeling open and extending you're not like leaning back this way and peeling your whole body open and extending from your lower back. It's merely, as soon as you dip and you drive, it's just this. that right there. So you're getting longer, if you will. And when you do that, that's gonna create this launch pad, and that's gonna launch the belt up to about eye level. And then from there, it's gonna give you all the time that you need to drop underneath the weight, okay? So I'm gonna demonstrate what the jerk can look like if you do this from the strict press. Here's another reason, before I get into strict press. Just had a thought. We want the weight to move the least distance possible, right? Is there a better way to say that? The least distance possible? That doesn't sound right. The shortest distance possible. There you go. We want the belt to travel the shortest distance possible. So what can happen from this strict press rack is at times when you press, you kind of have this like opening, like you press, you have this opening, and then you're pressing here, okay? With the jerk, we want this belt to go from here straight up overhead. And when you position yourself here in this position, and then as soon as you drive, that weight's just gonna go straight up, then it's gonna turn, and then you're gonna drop underneath the weight. So that's a very important piece there, okay? So, bringing the arm towards the midsection here, okay? We're gonna do, actually we're gonna back up there. Let me back up. We're gonna bring the arm to the outside, and we're gonna do a jerk with the arm on the outside, and you'll kind of see like my arm kind of flare out and me having to try to kind of course correct, okay? And then I'm gonna show you the double jerk, or not the double, but the jerk with the bell more here on the midsection, okay? More on this lower rib here, okay? Again, I'm not putting it here, it's just right here on the lower rib, okay? When you do this, you're gonna feel your abs also, because you now have all this pressure on your midsection, so you have to stay braced here. Okay. As soon as you bring this over here, you'll feel all the way in the torso, which means you got to breathe behind the shield. Okay. Now, I'm gonna do a jerk with the bell kind of here on the outside, and then I'm gonna do one with it here. Okay. Here we go. I'll do one more. Okay, now I'm gonna do a double jerk with the bell here on my torso. Okay, form is vertical, okay, then it's straight up. Okay, I'm gonna turn to my side and see if you can see what I do with my upper body. Time. So you see the difference here. The difference in the placement of the arm on the rack. You're gonna be shocked at how fast the kettlebell gets overhead, okay? So that's the double jerk rack. If you've been into jerks, especially with a pair of bells, and you've been digging it, maybe you've been experimenting with it, but it's just not grooving for you, give this little drill a try, okay? If you're liking the drill, you're gonna love all the material that's in my program, Kettlebell Berserk. I'll put the details in the comment section below if you wanna check it out. But put this into practice. Try this with the strict press rack. Try it with one bell, then move over to doubles, then do it where you clean them up with a pair and you're getting into this position. One thing of note, as your skill gets better, okay, and the more weight you start to lift heavier weights, as your skill improves, it's very important that we minimize the moving pieces, okay? What do I mean by that? If we're gonna do jerks, we wanna make sure that we can clean to that jerk rack and not clean to the press rack and then have to try to reposition it, okay? Even though that seems minuscule, when you're training, a 20, 30-minute session, who knows how long you're training, that builds up, okay? And it will mess with your technique. So, you wanna practice cleaning to either rack, okay? So when we clean up for the jerk rack position, here, we wanna clean right to that lower rib, okay? See, I'm right here on that lower rib, and I'm not out here for presses. You see the difference? So we don't want to clean here to the strict press rack and then have to try to readjust. When you're doing that with a pair of 32s, good luck. Because that, if you're doing clean and jerk, like the long cycle, and you're constantly having to readjust, you're gonna smoke yourself, okay? Unless you just don't like yourself, then by all means do it the hard way. I myself have done many things the hard way. So that's this week's technique of the week, the double jerk rack. And knowing how to get into it, the difference between the double jerk rack and the double press rack, and just kind of knowing what's happening in both of those positions, okay? So put that into practice. If you have any questions, you have any comments, drop something in the comment section below. And if you're enjoying the videos, be sure to subscribe. Be sure to do all that mumbo jumbo that normally comes after when people are done with YouTube videos. You gotta do that because that supports the channel and that lets me to keep putting things out because I know that you're enjoying it, all right? So Hector with strongest hec.com with this week's technique of the week.